Do you want to hear the most ironic part in all this? Israel is not supposed to have nuclear weapons, yet they allegedly do. Welcome back to the Schaik podcast. I'm your host, Derek Van Schaik. I feel like my main channel is great, but it's kind of hard to actually make a lot of pertinent content that's just immediate. So that's what we're going to do here. We're going to discuss topics as they're happening and not just maybe like a day or two later when you all were talking about them. I can post these very, very quickly. That's the idea. So, to be real, this is my first world war. And, to be honest, I'm a little nervous here. This is a little new to me. Haven't had a world war in my lifetime. So, trying to get in the swing of things, trying to think about, what it's like to live through a world war. Hopefully it doesn't go to that, but right now it doesn't look too good. And the reason why is because it seems like the United States is just about to get involved in the Iran war. And we're going to talk about that and why it seems that things have changed so drastically. I think a lot of Americans who maybe voted for Trump, I don't talk about who I voted for really, but I think many of them had an idea or thought based on pretty obvious statements from Donald Trump that said that, we should not have gone into Iraq. So I think it's a little curious that it seems that we are now going to be involved in an Israeli war. I mean, Israel has been fighting Iran for a very long time. They've been going at them. They've been going back and forth. They've been basically fighting every Muslim Middle Eastern country, which is basically nearly all of them, for nearly, 4 decades at this point, probably more, say 5 or 6 decades. So what I want to cover here is why does it seem that everything has changed? Donald Trump saying on the campaign trail that it was a big mistake going into Iraq and doing all that, and now, he's perfectly fine bombing and possibly getting deeply involved in a Israeli war with Iran. Like, where did this come from? And then, of course, Iran is like, well, if the United States is getting involved, then you all better watch out. No one's safe there. And then we're all like, wait a second. I'm not signing up for this war here. Wait a second. Why are we being implicated now? Is this what goes on? It's just very curious that all of a sudden now we're getting dragged into what seems to be Bibi's war, which is the Prime Minister of Israel. Why are we getting dragged into his war? And here's the thing, too. Israel seems to be doing a good job on their own. They're fending off the attacks, and yeah, maybe with some minor help with the United States, with our missile systems and things like that. But as of right now, it seems that Israel is doing perfectly fine fending off Iran. And, they're making headway. They're bombing them and, doing what they need to do. But I think what's going on is that Bibi, the PM, Prime Minister of Israel, is kind of like pushing the United States a little bit and saying, hey, we're almost there. We're so close, guys. We're so close. So what it appears to be is that Bibi has sold, I think, Donald Trump and some of his cabinet on the idea that it's just a couple of missiles. It's just a couple of missiles in Iran. It's just a couple. We just need your bunker busting missiles, things that Israel doesn't currently have. And they just need to have a few of those into the mountains that they're currently doing and building all their bombs.
This Fordo site is where the uranium fuel is. It's really deep, and only US B-2 bombers with this 30,000 pound deep penetrating warhead, only that combination can take out this site.
But here's a small little catch. It's a trap. And the trap is to just get the United States marginally involved, and Iran maybe bombs a U.S. base in retaliation, and guess what? The United States is full-blown into the war. So what it appears to be is a stepping stone manipulative trick to get the United States deeply involved in their wars. There's nothing more that Bibi and Israel wants more. People that are for this type of war in Israel. Not everyone is for this war in Israel, this war against Iran in Israel. But the ones that are for it, they could not ask anything more than the United States to be involved in their wars. Let's be honest, it's their dream come true. That's what Israel wants more than anything, is the United States to be deeply involved in every single one of their endless, pointless wars. And yes, it is helpful that, yeah, maybe the world would be safer without Iran having a nuclear weapon. Sure, maybe that makes sense. But here's the thing, at what cost? Iran cannot currently target our homeland. So there's really no specific, dedicated, urgent reason why the United States must get involved in this war. But of course, Bibi specifically and the pro-war in Israel is trying to make the case that, oh, well, US is in danger if Iran gets a nuclear weapon. Here's the thing. Our own intelligence has specifically said that Iran is not very close to getting a nuclear weapon.
The IC continues to assess that Iran is not building a nuclear weapon, and Supreme Leader Khamenei has not authorized the nuclear weapons program that he suspended in 2003. Iran's enriched uranium stockpile is at its highest levels and is unprecedented for a state without nuclear weapons.
And even farther away from developing a delivery system for their nuclear weapon. Iran, from an international political psychological perspective, views getting a nuclear weapon and becoming a nuclear power as maintaining their regime. The only reason why Kim Jong-un in North Korea is still in power is why. Really, let's think about it. Why is he still in power? It's because he was able to develop a nuclear weapon and develop the delivery systems that could actually hit U.S. territory. Because what does that do? It's the ultimate defense mechanism. It's mutual destruction. It's, hey, if you hit us, we're going to hit your mainland. For these countries like Iran and North Korea, it's much less about actually having the weapon and possibly using the weapon as it is to have the threat of using it and having everyone know that they have it where they can possibly use it and people don't try to attack them or change their regime. Because they know that, if their back is against the wall, they will likely use it. Because it's like, hey, for some of these dictators, especially that don't care about probably anybody but themselves and maybe their immediate family at best, what they care about most is staying in power. And if they can't have power, they're going to make sure the whole world goes down with them. And that's what having nuclear weapons now actually means. That's why some of these countries like Iran are not trying to buy just one nuclear weapon from Russia or Pakistan. That's not going to do anything as a threat. It's like you just have one. We could probably shoot that down. You need several. You need to be known as a nuclear power. You just can't just have just one or two. And even if you had one or two, think about it like this. Say they just bought one or two from Pakistan and Russia, right? Say Iran did that. What does that do for them anyway? That does nothing, because they could never say they bought it from Russia or Pakistan, because then Russia and Pakistan are going to be in big trouble with the United States, and they're going to look at Russia and Pakistan as the aggressors that are arming Iran with these weapons of mass destruction. So for these countries, it's less about having a secret weapon of mass destruction in their back pocket that no one knows about that they're going to use when, if they get attacked. It's not about that. It's about being known internationally. Everyone internationally has to know that Iran, in this case Iran, has nuclear power and can basically end the world with a one push of the button. Therefore, it gives countries like Iran to basically run their country however they choose. However they want to run it. If they want to be terrible to certain groups of people, if they want to be extremist religious, they can do that. So that's their psychology and their logic of why they want nuclear weapons, which is interestingly basically the same psychology and logic of why countries like Israel and also other Western countries like the United States ideally don't want Iran to have a nuclear weapon. And Israel has been doing what they felt was necessary to defend their sovereignty and to not have a bad actor close to them, whether that's right or wrong. That's another story, but Israel has been doing it. They've been fending off Iran. However, I think what's actually happening is that Israel, in their pie in the sky, what they really hope for and what they want is peace in the Middle East. I'm going to tell you right now, unfortunately, sadly, I'm all for peace. I want peace more than anybody. Peace is not going to happen in my lifetime in the Middle East. It's just, it's It's just not going to happen. I'm sorry. It's just not going to happen. And if Israel actually believes that regime change in Iran is going to really move that whole region towards peace, and specifically Iran as not a bad actor towards Israel, they are completely delusional. They are completely delusional if they actually believe that. Because it's not true. It's not going to work that way. It will never be that way. We learned, I feel like, so much from the Iraq War. But at the same time, I think a lot of people just don't want to believe what everyone learned from the Iraq War. They don't want to believe it. It's just obvious what happened. You know, we felt that, hey, if we just put someone in place that can give the Iraqis freedom, this is Iraq, not Iran now, right? If we just give them freedom, they'll make better choices and they won't want to harm people.
American and coalition forces are in the early stages of military operations to disarm Iraq, to free its people, and to defend the world from grave danger.
When you're starving, you don't give a shit about freedom. Let's be real, you don't care about freedom. What you care about when you're starving is what? Obvious thing. Food and water. That's it. That's what you want when you're starving. You know, it's kind of like Maslow's pyramid of needs, right? Freedom is kind of up high, you know? Survival is the very basic. If you're not surviving, you're not thinking about freedom. Where I think America and a lot of the allies, specifically those in the Bush administration and people like that, really thought that, hey, if we just give them some freedom, they're going to love freedom, you know? They're going to make better choices. They're not going to try to bomb people. They're not going to try to bomb us. They're not going to try to do anything. They're not going to try to hurt anybody. All they want is just freedom, and they're going to be better off. Back in 2003, 2004, 2005, the Iraqis, they weren't looking for freedom. They were looking to just survive, and they just didn't want to be completely poor. And if someone came to power, whether he was going to take away all their rights or whatever he was going to do, but he was going to just say, hey, I just won't make you poor. I'll give you food and water. You're going to go with that person. You're not going to go with a person where you feel like, oh, I want to vote for that person. You're going to go with a person that's going to provide for your basic needs, especially at that time. So this whole idealistic fever dream of having a very pro-Israeli Iranian leader in place, get rid of the old one, put a really pro-Israeli leader in, and have all the people be completely happy with that is completely bogus. There's a reason why the current leader is the leader there right now. That's what happens when nature takes its course. Okay? That's what they wanted. That's what came about. The people who believe the strongest and were willing to fight and die for it the most, they're the ones who took over and took power in Iran. That's what it was. And it's not one guy that is, oh, just get rid of this one guy and that's going to be it. No, it's what seems to be a movement of these people that want to lead the country in that direction. And even if you get rid of that one guy, there's going to be another guy and another guy, because there's so many people that just want to have power and that believe that strongly in those ideals that the current government in Iran believes in. That's what it is. This is what happens when nature takes its course. So unless Israel wants to rule Iran with an iron fist, unless they want to do that and be completely occupying the country and rule it as their own, what we currently see will eventually happen again. Okay? It's just the course of nature. It's just what the region and the people in that region want. Or not, maybe not a majority of them, but people who believe most strongly in what they believe to die for it. Let's put it that way. There's probably maybe a majority of people that don't like that direction in Iran. There's probably a majority that don't, but that majority aren't willing to die for it. So since they're not willing to die for it, and there's other people that believe more strongly in something that they are willing to die for, naturally that's what occurs. And you're going to see those more extremist people come into power like we currently have in Iran. I don't see the Middle East ever being peaceful. I mean, it's a fever dream. The only time you can have them all come together is if you see what happened in like Independence Day movie, right? Where everyone comes together to fight a bigger threat. And we all fight aliens together and we win as a world and we become more united as a world. You need something bigger than religion to bring everybody together. And that's not happening anytime soon. If it does, great. But that whole region has been hyper-religious. They've all hated each other. So it does appear that Bibi the prime minister of Israel, is very close to getting the United States to get involved in his war, which I think is a mistake. It's not necessary, and it'll just keep happening over and over. Again, I think they're doing a good job for what they want to do. That's their war. Let them do it. You know? Yeah, they may not be able to bust bunkers, but I'm sure if they bomb that mountain for at least a decade, they'll eventually get there, okay? I don't think you actually need U.S. equipment to do that. Israel just has to keep doing whatever they feel like they need to do, because I don't think we need to be involved in another Middle Eastern war. What do you think? Also, lastly here, I think the role of the United States in all this should be the role of a peacekeeper and kind of like a broker, mediator to keep the world from not killing each other, basically. Do you want to hear the most ironic part in all this? Israel is not supposed to have nuclear weapons, yet they allegedly do. It's not 100% confirmed that Israel has them, but, you know, they secretly kind of do, and I think everyone believes that they have them. They're not supposed to have them according to the UN treaties. They're not supposed to. And yet Israel is pissed off at Iran for doing exactly what they kind of did. So it's like, guys, do you realize how you're kind of two-faced? You're not supposed to have nuclear weapons. Yes, Iran has made it clear that they want to destroy Israel and things like that. So, you know, in my opinion, that's kind of Israel's fight. So the role of the US should be to mediate the two and try to prevent them from going to war and them hurting each other, not us stepping in and getting involved. And now we're going to be the target of whatever the heck Iran and maybe some of their allies have up their sleeve. And here's another thing too. You have Trump and other people in the administration. You have Lindsey Graham, the senator from South Carolina, saying things very threatening to Iran, specifically Tehran, the capital city of Iran, that, hey, you better leave there soon because, you know, basically bad things are going to happen there, you know, presuming that it means that there's going to be bombings that are going to occur there. When that's said, it naturally causes everyone in that country to rally around the flag and to not look at us as saviors or people that are going to come in and wipe out the bad regime. And we're not against you personally. We're just going to bomb and level everything you know and your city and your homes completely to the ground. You know, it doesn't make any sense. So naturally, people are going to what's called rally around the flag of their home country. Even if the people don't like the current dictatorship that they're being ruled under, they're thinking, hey, this other foreign country is going to level us. Naturally, you're going to go with the people, the dictatorship, the leaders that are going to help defend your home. So you're really causing a lot of problems in another country that's not going to make your doing and in your involvement in that country, if it's the United States involvement in Iran with Israel's help and Israel's involvement, you're not making that other country and those people want to actually support you if you do go in there and if regime change does occur, because maybe you try to wipe out the current government and you're going to try a new regime, even though, like I said, it's likely unsuccessful, maybe only successful for a few years at most. Even if they do change regime, they're going to be less likely to support whatever regime that, say, Israel or the United States tries to push into place in Iran. Because this other country that was supposedly helping you leveled everything you've ever known in your entire life. So naturally, they're not going to like it very much, and they're always going to have bad taste and always want to basically attack that other country that basically leveled and destroyed their own personal property and homes. Personally, I think the United States should have more of a peacekeeping role in all of this, to try to prevent people from bombing and killing each other. A lot of people also make the claim that, you know, there's a lot of terrorism that's being supported in Iran and other places. I mean, yeah, that's probably true, but here's the thing. Like, you know, if you're just leveling everybody and you're involved in leveling country after country, and you're involved in regime change and nation building, that's what it's called, nation building, then naturally you're going to get a lot of people to hate you. I think if we just become more of the big brother peacekeeper, not the big brother with a big stick ready to whack people, if we're just seen as peacekeepers in the world, we're probably going to be less likely to be attacked by terrorists because our nation comes across as a peaceful nation. Yes, there's always going to be countries that hate us. Yes, there's always going to be people that feel like, economically we're, always doing things, but overall they'll have less bad will towards us. If you have less bad will, you're less likely to have more problems with terrorism, as opposed to just like, well, we're going to handle each one ourselves and we're just going to level each country that ever says anything bad about us or ever threatens us. We're just going to level them. That's not sustainable. Okay. You need to win the hearts and minds of people at some point. Sometimes a country does need to use their physical force. It makes sense. You have to use it sometimes. It's a necessary evil. But overall, I think countries like the United States should not really get deeply involved in these types of disputes. We should be acting as peacekeepers of the world and not instigators and escalators of a very volatile situation as it is. That's what I think from an international, political, psychological perspective. Now let me know what you think in the comments below. If you're not already subscribed to the Schaik podcast, you may want to do that, where we talk about these current event topics in more conversational detail. We are everywhere you get your podcasts, including Apple, YouTube, Spotify, Amazon. Everywhere you get your favorite podcasts, that's where you can get the podcast Schaiked. See you soon. We are still looking to get the big studio up and running so we can have guests. But for now, this will do.